listening to some conversations about the younger generation and remembering my own struggles as a youth, figuring out, what gender and sexuality were. And I think, the fact that they are now these very fluid and open things were not something in my head as a child. But now that kids today have this grand spectrum of life and love to choose from or to figure out themselves. Pride to me means inclusivity, community, embracing your true self, not being afraid to show your colors.
Abby and I founded Harbor Country Pride to help spread awareness that this area can be very inclusive, and especially to the younger generation. Coming full circle to when I grew up here and was, worried that, I wasn't going to be accepted or whatnot. And I don't think that the youth has a huge outreach for that down here. But, just Abby and I wanted to continue what previous generations have done for us here in this community over the last several decades. What pride means to me is unapologetically being who you were born to be. I know that sounds so cliche, but growing up, struggling to figure out who I was and where I was going. This is not something I talk about a lot, so I'm getting a little emotional here, but when I went off to college in Grand Rapids, it was almost the first time where I was able to, I was just me, and I didn't have to put on this show for anybody, and people accepted it, and people loved it, and I was just Travis. I was Travis at a design school expressing himself, and it was great. And then, that's when I figured out who I was.
Pride encompasses everything that I wasn't allowed to have growing up in this area, so it's very important to me, and it's kind of ironic or odd that I'm here saying that because I didn't think I would come back to this area after I moved away. So it means everything to me. Yeah. It can be really damaging to kind of have a distorted relationship with love and family if they don't love all of you, and it can end up really affecting the way that you love other people and the way that you love yourself, because it was never really love. It was conditional. So to love yourself unconditionally and find people that do that.
Pride to me means embracing who we are and all of our differences and all of our similarities and being ourselves. I just, as a woman of a certain age, I'm going to be 60 this year. As a 60-year-old woman, I've learned so much over my life in terms of how to see people, how to accept people, how to know people, how to celebrate people. That is what pride is to me, is celebrating who we are.
Pride means to me to be able to drive around in a pink Cadillac convertible and embrace all of the looks and the stares and the hoots and the hollers. And when I came here, I felt as though I could be myself. And here I feel like that is part of the essence of where we are. And the energy here is a loving energy, at least the energy that I've experienced. And I don't know, I just want to share it. I want to share what I have. I want to share it with people around us here in Harbor Country. And I want to raise awareness to the folks back in the city of all of the amazing art and growers and chefs and fill in the blank potters. I mean, how many wonderful people are here?
And so when I think about pride, I mean, I think that everyone deserves to live their life in a way that's authentic to themselves. And so I just think people should be who they are and be proud of who they are. It's the way that people are going to have the most, authentic way of contributing to society is by being themselves. And people get into a jam when they're not, and they deny themselves who they are. It's like being half of yourself, and that is not healthy for anyone.
What does pride mean to me? Everything. I always think about it as that, going back to being a little boy with that secret, you're scared to death someone's going to find out. All the way to the point when you're walking down the aisle with your husband decades later in front of your friends and family, and watching the community grow. It's not just gay white men, as everyone always depicted. It really never was in major cities, but I think it's that broad spectrum that we are a part of that keeps growing. And it enables us to not only love the person that we want to love, but to accept love back. And I think that's a huge part of it. It's they say love is love when it comes to pride for a reason. And a lot of that is just acceptance. Accepting the fact that you are worthy of love as well, no matter who, what you are. It works.
I was going to talk about it more from the point of view as an ally. I feel like anytime there's any group of people that are discriminated against, it's your obligation as a human being, really, to step forward and advocate. So I think that's just a moral, ethical obligation. And then as a former teacher, I saw so many students who felt, I think, either shamed or rejected either by their friends or sometimes by their families. So, having someone stand up for them is really important.
I think pride to me means just a moment of reflection of the past, where we're living right now, and the future. We're conscious of that we're able to express ourselves more freely now than previous generations. So to me, it's just taking that moment to kind of acknowledge those people that weren't as fortunate as we are. And as we are thankful for that, we kind of need to take sort of like inventory of what else needs to be done. So the generation after us has a little bit less of a struggle. If we just compare ourselves to other minorities and what they're going through right now, I feel like it's pretty obvious that history repeats itself and things go backward at a certain time, things move forward. So what we need to work is to make going backwards a little bit less intense and push forward so our next generation doesn't have the struggle that other minorities are going through right now.
Pride for me is very much an acknowledgement of the struggle and the hard work of people in the past who have given us more of an ability to be authentically ourselves. It's definitely more accepting than it has been in the past. There is still work to be done, but I think for I mean, a lot of our friends in the area there's a generational gap between myself and them. And it's mind-blowing to me sometimes, like the stories that I've heard from them, because it's not necessarily a struggle that I had to face, and I know that a lot of that is in large part due to the struggles that them and their generations have already had to face.
I guess what pride means to me is just being like your most authentic self, even if like you can't be your most authentic self like openly, because like being out is like a privilege that I feel like a lot of people don't like fully understand, and that's like it's just like a huge privilege, because a lot of times we have to like prioritize our safety and just a lot of other like, situations. So it's, even if like you're yourself like just behind closed doors, and that's like enough, I think.
Pride, I mean, it's a vitally important idea and movement to see for the visibility of a group that has not been as visible, has been excluded from, whether it's through policy or the culture, for various reasons, has been excluded, has been denied a seat at the table. This is brought including those people, and any movement of inclusion is for the benefit of everybody. So we need to embrace that as allies, people that are part of the LGBTQ community, to support it. It's for everybody. And celebrate.
Pride to me means equality. I think it's sort of, I hate to use the word struggle, but it's an endless struggle for equality. I think the LGBT community, pride is about being proud of who you are, not having to hide who you are, be ashamed of who you are, because we're all equal no matter who we are.
Yeah, everybody is born with dignity. You shouldn't have to deny yourself to earn that. Just have it. So that's pride about celebrating versus everyone's dignity, humanity.
To me, pride is a celebration of being who you are, allowing yourself to be whoever you are. I'm old enough to remember when it was, when being gay was just weird enough, but now it's queer, and there's so many different, it's not definitions, but so many different, it's a spectrum. And I think it's so important that we celebrate everybody's spectrum. And to me, the fact that we are allowing the Pride celebration means that we're accepting everybody. I mean, the word pride, the opposite of pride is shame. And there is no room for shame. It's one of the things I think our society teaches people so well is shame. And I think if we spend as much time teaching people pride, we'd be better off.
This can be, and hopefully one day will be, very much more diverse and inclusive, and a staple for an LGBTQ destination.